Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing? Sorry for being late. The weather was too good, so I had to be out and about, enjoying the sun. And dinner took a little bit longer, but yeah, it's just half an hour late, so not that bad, I think, all in all. But I do apologize anyway. Hi, Dawn. We love you, King. Wow, so much positivity in the chat today. I wonder why, but appreciate it, guys. German sunburn deluxe. I don't get sunburns, I very rarely do. But that's because I'm just not being stupid. Take care of your skin, it's important. You don't want to have fucking skin cancer when you're 50 or 60. How's the castle? The castle's still cancelled because they decided last minute to keep it themselves. Sadly. I was up on the open, now wrecked. Sorry to hear that, man. Are you going to storm the homeowners of the castle? I've actually discussed this with friends. So it has become an inside joke of sorts. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, it's a little bit of a sad one, but it is what it is. That whole saga was really annoying because we had the verbal okay and the verbal yes from the realtor and from the owner himself. And basically, when we went to sign, the guy was like, I'm going to keep it myself. So the castle is a no. Bring me my trebuchet. Let's fucking go. Yeah. Anyway, let's start, shall we? There's a little bit to talk about, not too much. Probably going to be a shorter episode today because in altcoin land it's not interesting, but Bitcoin is interesting, so we can talk at least about that. But before I do so, shout out to WooX, the sponsor of the show. It's been a pleasure working with them, and I think it would be wise for anyone that hasn't kind of read up on how they do things to read up on it. And if you want to have material to do so, check the description, it's all there. Cred wrote a very, very good write-up, as usual, on the whole thing. He wrote it in the most negative way he could, which is quite nice, right? Like if you're sponsored by someone and you just kind of like promote it by strong arming the bad arguments, that's quite cool. I like that. That's the German way, kind of like never give praise, always just shit talk something. No, but the German way for real is like, you're like, oh yeah, there's like there's a famous thing where you say, basically, could be worse, and that's like the highest praise you're gonna get in Germany. So, yeah, very fitting. Anyway. Would love to see you talk about the trading strategy used on Woo. Yeah, probably not. Maybe I'll go over the trades one day, but we'll see. I don't want to ruin my trading for me, and that might do it. So yeah, but it's basically, it's I almost took all the positions that I talked about on that account, just with a little bit more high frequency. So like it's all in these streams, right? When I'm bullish on like proper trading, I was buying on that account, and if I was cautious, I was selling on that account, basically. So it's all there. Anyway, let's get into it. The monthly still hasn't changed at all. It's just a nothing burger, basically. Supports the 23k. Resistance is 35k. Anything in between could go anywhere, and that's kind of where all of this choppy action has come from. And is probably going to continue doing so. That said, if we have like 2 or 3 months like this, where it's just slowed down, basically, I mean, at the end of the day, we had a big move up and we have a slow move down. So that's not the end of the world, right? This doesn't look too bad. It's just a lot of people, especially us in crypto, we don't like to wait. And waiting 90 days on something is just a little bit of a agonizing thing. But in general, once this finds support somewhere, I think the more likely way is to 35K. So I'm not betting on further like than 20K downside. But yeah, the monthlies, you can pretty much ignore it, I think, until it either hits support or resistance. Right now, there's not that much there. On the weekly time frame, we have like an interesting situation, which is basically, I mean, for the people, some people have heard me talk about this. One of the reasons why I was buying quite aggressively into the low is, and this is something you can look into, only really works for the bigger exchanges and for some reason for BitMEX. We had this wick on BitMEX that we didn't have anywhere else. And those tend to be interesting spots. Can only recommend looking into that if you're kind of a fan of this bullshit stuff. For some reason, likes to do this. These are the kind of, I mean, quote unquote SFPs that I actually like, which is funny because technically no other exchange traded here, but for some reason keeps working. So hit that and reversed. You can see this on the weekly time frame. But if you go on any other exchange, this wick isn't going to exist. There's going to be one right around here. And then you could technically just argue that we have support down here and resistance up here. And if we close this week nicely, there's a way to salvage the situation. Excuse the birds. So yeah, the weekly time frame is in a weird spot where good support is a little bit lower, bad support is right around here, and we had this massive low time frame action going on. That we'll talk about on the low time frames. Jesus Christ. I'm getting invaded. But yeah, that's, someone says, is Cred a good trader or just a great teacher? Both. Yeah, these birds, Jesus. Anyway, I might close the window if this continues. I've never heard German birds before. They sound angrier than American birds, to be honest. I mean, this is not the typical kind of bird. Anyway, so on the weekly time frame, it's shitty support down here, but it's support nonetheless. And if this weekly closes green, I think we could have some upside. It's just we have to have a little bit of momentum, right? And so far, we haven't had that. Today was like a little bit, or as in yesterday was a little bit. Today we retraced quite a bit of yesterday's move. So yeah, so far still choppy. High time frame support is down here. High time frame resistance up here. Everything in between is gonna be choppy, right? You see a daily reclaim, you're gonna be excited. There's a chance it just chops. You're gonna see a daily breakdown, you get excited. Good chance it just chops. So as long as we're trading below 30K or above 24K, expect a lot of just choppy action, fake outs left, right, and center. So that's that. And I think honestly, like for most people, these are not the conditions to necessarily get too involved. But yeah, I don't know. It's been not too bad for me, but it's not too enjoyable, I think. Like this is not the kind of trading that I would necessarily recommend to anyone. But so far, like I'm looking at the weekly, and that's not bad, honestly. Like I look at this time frame, and I'm not too concerned, right? Because we are at shitty support, but we are at support. I look at the daily time frame, and this isn't too bad either, right? So we basically, and this is the same thing. This BitMEX wick doesn't exist anywhere else, but we spiked it on BitMEX, and and reversed instantly. But technically speaking, we have like a shitty range down here. I don't know why I took the Fib tool there. We have a shitty range here. We spiked the low, we came back up it. We've tested this resistance a million times. And over here again. So if we push back into that, that starts looking really, really good. It's just the problem that in general it's been a choppy market. But if there was going to be a breakdown, and this is like the most bullish argument I have, if there was going to be a breakdown, it would have been yesterday. We had all the SEC news, we had like very, very bearish sentiment, we had all of it, and the market full-blown reversed, went up. Full-blown went up, and this is so distracting. Well, I'll give them one more chance. But basically, we had the chance to dump. We didn't do it, which is usually a very bullish sign. Okay, give me a sec. Enough is enough. Okay, I'm back. A lot of ravens on the castle walls? Yes, exactly. Rival gang outside. Yeah, they're coming. They're coming for me. Okay, give me a sec. Shotgun noises. Jesus Christ. No. It's not America here, my friends. But anyway, we had the chance to break down. We didn't. But, and this is a big but, we also didn't have any follow through today. And that makes the whole argument more like that makes it like that this could just be a short squeeze, right? And this is what the title kind of alludes to. If this is just a short squeeze and we reverse all of it, it starts looking really, really bad. So basically, if we go below here, it's kind of fucked on the low time frames. But then again, like I said, 23K is weekly support, so that's just a little bit lower. But that's kind of one thing to note. Also, it's a really good invalidation, right? So basically, if you come back down here, which is not that far away, you get invalidated as a bull, which makes it like a somewhat like right now after the pullback today, it makes it an interesting spot to kind of buy. If you're bullish, I think it's not the worst setup. Basically, stop loss at the lows, target 35K. That's a massive risk to reward trade. That is most likely, if it's going to stop you out, it's going to go and dump quite a bit more, which is okay, right? The worst thing that can happen is you get stopped out and the trade still isn't really invalidated and it moves in a way that makes you kind of like doubt if you actually have been invalidated. The best case by like when you get stopped out is basically dumps or pumps massively after, because like let's say you get stopped out on the short and it pumps massively after, it means that your invalidation was well picked. If you get stopped out and then price starts walking back up, it means your invalidation was pretty shitty. Are you bullish? It's pretty hard to say. I was very bullish at the lows yesterday. I took profits into the pump at night, basically, and into the morning today. And I rebought a little down here. But this is just me having fun. It's nothing too serious. I'm not too bullish. I'm not too bearish. I'm just trading right now. So that's kind of how I look at the market right now. I'm just kind of like expecting chop. But if we go back below this low, I think that could be massive acceleration to the downside. So there's risk there, especially for the people that don't really watch the market closer. Like if you buy here, don't place a stop, and then you come back and it's trading at 23K, you shouldn't be surprised. And the same thing is true if you're like shorting here and it walks up. Shouldn't be surprised by a massive candle to 29K if it comes back above 27.5. So in this instance, like if you're bear, you can short with a stop loss above here. And if you're bull, you can short long with a stop loss below here. It's right in the middle. And then either way it goes, it's going to go most likely. So that's the best kind of trading advice I can give. And it's not the best one. This range is getting old, and that makes it quite difficult to trade. But that's Bitcoin, basically. The daily time frame above 27.4, 27.5 starts looking excellent. But then again, it's nowhere near high time frame support or resistance. So, did you read the ZZ allegations? Not in depth, but I mean, to be honest, like a lot of the stuff that I've heard, like a lot of the stuff that I've seen, I've heard through like kind of like peers and people working for Binance anyway. There's been a lot of kind of like, I mean, Binance allegedly was quite interesting at the early stages, right? All of these allegations are from 2018, 2019, like back in the day. And back then, allegedly, Binance didn't really play by the book. It's quite well known. So shouldn't really be surprised by any of that. It's just basically Binance's history catching up with it. I don't think Binance is as shady now as it is portrayed back in the day. Can you explain the 23.5K area being support? I struggle to understand why that area would be. Just look here. Basically, we had a massive move. We had consolidation. We had a massive move again, right? In this area, a lot of trading had been done, right? And whenever you have like an area of consolidation, it's where people's eyes are drawn to. And it's basically, I mean, depending on how you want to look at it, I mean, there's the whole supply and demand angle. For me, it doesn't really matter. It's just basically a structure where people can see that there's been trading done before, and they'll feel much more comfortable buying. But you can, I mean, if you look into the whole supply, demand, whatever, volume nodes, all that kind of bullshit, they give other explanations, and they make more sense, or like sound more sophisticated. But at the end of the day, you just look for areas where people are going to buy, and you look for areas where people are going to sell. That's at least how I do it. You don't have to overcomplicate things. All of these like tape reading gurus on Twitter, most of them are perma bears for whatever reason on an asset that's been going up forever. So yeah, I mean, there might be something in it. For me, it's as simple as, okay, where are people going to buy? Where are people going to sell? And it's an area of consolidation. People have been doing business there before. I would be more than willing to do business there again, right? It's just pretty straightforward. It's a good weekly level, and it's top of the previous range, right? So we had like, first, we had people sell this level multiple times, and then the moment we ran into it, we had people buy it, and I think they would buy it again. Obviously, if basically everyone that's like saw this breakout would have resting bids here. If it falls in here, bounces and comes back, the opposite is obviously true, right? Because then everyone that bought in this range wants to get out of their trade. I'm a novice trader and use the Ichimoku cloud well. I want to learn Elliott Wave theory. Is this something you use? What's your honest take on Elliott Wave? I think market structure-wise, it's not the worst in the world, honestly. Like learning how it's done, I mean, it's going to teach you how market structure looks. So I've seen worse. Do I use it? No. I don't think straightforward rules like that actually work in trading. Like, it's the same as when people teach you patterns, right? They're like, okay, if you see this pattern, you always have to sell down here, right? Like, it's a head and shoulders. You have to sell the moment it breaks down from the right shoulder. If this is how trading would work, everyone would be fucking rich. It's not, right? Like, this pattern, in itself without context will not help you at all. And it's the same with Elliott waves, right? If you're gonna be arguing that you always have to have a move up, a move down, a move up, move down, and move up, and then you have like a wave pattern, whatever, and then you get a corrective ABC, like this, and you always have to have this, right? It's just bullshit. Markets don't work like that. If it was that simple, everyone would be fucking rich. It'd be like there'd be massive firms just sitting there coding a way to take advantage of this. Like there's no real alpha in trading like this, right? Now, but what you can do is you can learn how this works, like the theory behind it, basically, the market structure, and then kind of use it as a stepping stone, as in like you kind of look at the market with context and with this in mind, and then it can be okay. I think the most important part about like trading a market, for example, why did I know yesterday? Like I was like 90% sure that when we moved down here, that we would be moving up, right? Like I was like almost 100%. Now, why did I have that? Because technically, I mean, it's not near support. It's not in an area that is necessarily super interesting besides that BitMEX wick. But the reason is, right, and this is the context that we're talking about, is you have a drop here, right, because of news. There was SEC news. The whole context, basically, and this is something I've been talking about for weeks now. We had a seller in the market that was just selling into every green candle we got, right? We had the S&P moving up. We had strength in other markets that usually spill over into crypto, but we didn't have any of that. And I was wondering why, right? Like, why is this happening? And then you always have to guess, like, is this just someone being stupid, selling, trying to fade like strength, or like trying to front run weakness or whatever? Or is this someone that has insider information or whatever? Like, you have to think, okay, like, what is this person actually doing, or the group of people? Like, why are we trading weaker than the S&P? Why is this the case, right? And the cool thing is we got the answer, right? Which is something that you usually don't get, in the sense that we've been trading weaker than the S&P, and then we have the SEC news come out, right? Which pretty much puts this all into context, and then you have like a moment of clarity. You know exactly who's positioned how, you know why they are positioned, and then you can think about, okay, can I take advantage of this? Because basically a bunch of people had insider information that the SEC was gonna kind of go after Binance. They obviously showed it. They obviously sold their stuff because of it. And then the moment the news broke, we got a massive red dildo to the downside, right? That's why we had this weakness in the first place. People were front running it. The news came out, and then people reacted to it. Now we're trading down here, and we got another piece of bad news, which was basically Coinbase news, right? Same thing with the SEC doing some dumb shit to Coinbase. Now, you see this reaction, right? This is quite the move, but then again, given the gravity of the situation, it's not a big move. The reason for that is because a bunch of people were already positioned in a way for downside before the news broke, right? So a bunch of people were already shorting, so we had already moved down before even the news broke, and then a bunch of people traded the news. So it didn't really go too far. And then you get the Coinbase news, and they were like, the reaction was very, very limited. No one was left willing to sell. A bunch of people started shorting, and then I was like, okay, you had a bunch of insiders that are all positioned short because they knew this was coming. You have a bunch of apes basically shorting the news. I saw a bunch of people on Twitter being like, okay, I'm going to short this on leverage. And then, but who's left to sell, right? The insiders sold. The people that were going to freak the fuck out sold here. And the moment you saw that this wasn't going to move down, like it was like holding pretty strong, this was ripe for a short squeeze, right? Like all the insiders that are short on one side, and then on top of that, all the idiots that were basically shorting the news, that were old news because the insiders had been shorting all along, And then you kind of know, like, this is the context, right? Like, you have a good level because it's like that BitMEX wick, whatever. So it's an interesting area, but you have all of that context. Now you can take advantage of it. You know that how people are positioned. You know that they're easy pickings if the market goes up. And then you can just, like, you slam it long. Obviously, you can also lose, but then again, the odds are heavily in your favor. And if you're right, it's going to go straight away, which is what it did yesterday. And then you just short these bitches out, right? And the reason why I was like so happy about this is because this move hurt exactly the right people. It hurt the insiders that were shorting this, and it squeezed them out of their positions, which I love to see. I hate these people. Like, if you have insider information, whether that be because you work at Binance or like at Coinbase, and you know that this is coming, you tell your friends and your family, or you do it yourself, or whether that's at the SEC people that were just trying to take advantage of it. Absolutely scum move. I know people do it. I know that this is like a very, very real problem all over the world, but it's a scummy thing to do. So love to see that. Love to see them squeeze out. But this is the context that I'm talking about, right? If you just look at this and you're trying to make sense of why this is this is a double bottom pattern and this is why it went up, no. Like, you could try to trade like that, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to lose all your money. This is not how you trade. The most important part is the context and the lens that you view the market through. It's not necessarily your pattern. It's not necessarily your Elliott waves. It's not necessarily even the high time frame support resistance levels, even though they make it quite, like, when you zoom out far enough, they make it pretty easy for you, because at this point, the context when you hit high time frame support and resistance is that a bunch of giga charts that look at the high time frames will be trading with you. And then you have the context of the market, just like a bunch of people that have a lot of money, because the bigger time frame you trade, usually the more money you have. I mean, it's not necessarily always true. In my case, I wouldn't say that's necessarily. Like, I'm a small fish swimming with the big fish on the high time frames, right? But I know that there's gonna be a bunch of people buying and selling with me, and that's already more than enough context. But if you go the lower time frame you go, the more context you need. And yesterday gave you like a pretty good example of it. So it all depends. But yeah. People are commenting on me saying small fish. I mean, I am. In comparison to some of the people out there, I very much am. All depends. Everyone's poor in comparison to someone else. So, but yeah, that's basically how that's how I look at markets, right? When I'm trading low time frames, that's kind of how you have to think, in my opinion. The high time frames, like I said, make it a little bit easier for you. Where are we now? What to look for? I mean, then once the squeeze played out, the context changed again a little bit, because now we had a short squeeze, and the context is in general one, and I can show you this real quick. The context is right now, in my opinion anyway, that the S&P is at resistance, which fucking sucks, because we are set up for a Bitcoin rally. This is the perfect kind of setup for it to happen. Problem is, it's at high time frame S&P resistance, and that makes me quite a bit more cautious. I don't necessarily think this is the best place to take massive risk. Can still do it. There could be an upset, could be a weekly wick above this level, right? A monthly wick above this level to like maybe 4.4. But I think anything in this area is dangerous territory, which basically just means we're going to have headwind. Yeah, we're going to have headwind in crypto. And the short squeeze having played out, basically. And I would say this was a short squeeze. And the less follow through this has, the worse it gets, obviously. Ran into high time frame S&P resistance. So that's why we're struggling right now. I think we would have done much, much better if the S&P wasn't struggling. Worst part about it is obviously that because of this weakness that we've had in the last few weeks, we didn't get any gains in comparison to the S&P, and now the S&P is at resistance. So there's a good chance that we're gonna take weakness from the S&P, and so it's an uphill battle, so to say. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. We'll take it day by day. But yeah, the high time frames, when you don't have a clue, and for example, right now, like I'm not entirely sure, this chart could go anywhere. Like, looks interesting here. Could also just like 1 hourly candle that goes back to the lows and starts looking really fucking ugly. So like this is quite a tough spot. And yeah, basically that's it. Like, just gonna have to wait and see if the high time frames give us something, or if you get another low time frame setup where people go stupid. I love it when people go stupid, because then you can go even more stupid and trade the opposite way, and it usually works out. Don, how did you learn to manage your emotions and psychology while trading over the years? Or are you naturally a level-headed dude? I mean, I can be dumb. I can be like, everyone does, I think, the same mistakes. It's just when you think you've trade through before you enter it, and you actually like, basically like the moment you take a trade and you have a stop loss, right, and you assume it's a loser, the moment like you press that buy or sell button, you think it's a loser, and it's gone. If you go at it with that mindset, it's easier to kind of do something smart with it, rather than looking at how much you're gonna make if it goes to your target, and then not being able to let go. But I don't know, like I wouldn't say I'm like, I think it's one of my strengths, just being like able to kind of just let go of things. Like, the moment something smells wrong, I'm just gonna let go. I'm not gonna be like, I don't care about looking stupid. I don't care about doing that. That helps. Like, you need to, like, you're either humble trading, or the market is gonna humble you, and it's gonna humble you by taking all your money, basically. So if you think you're the greatest, and you cannot be wrong, you will be wrong, and you will lose all your money. So I don't know. I've never had a problem with that. I'm more than willing to be like, okay, I'm just wrong. And I think that's the most important part. But it's something that everyone should be able to incorporate. Your strength, Doug, is your instincts. I mean, that also helps, obviously, but yeah. So yeah, it's nice to be humble in normal life also. Yeah, I mean, no one likes the guy just thinking he's a king. But yeah, that's that. With regards to altcoins, right? ETH continues to look the best, but also struggling under the pressure that Bitcoin's at. Got rejected by weekly resistance again, which is quite funny. But yeah, I like ETH BTC a lot. It's been walking up for weeks in tiny increments. We just need a little bit of strength, and this is why I hate this S&P situation, because ETH set up perfectly, Bitcoin is set up perfectly, but now we have massive S&P headwinds, right? Which doesn't really help, because it's going to be much harder for these markets to go up. Excuse me, when we're trading like shit on the S&P, which I think could very well be happening pretty soon. But yeah, still I like ETH BTC. It's quite nice. It's the first time in a while that we're breaking a high. Look here, you had like this step down behavior, like low here, low here, low here. Like, that's pretty clearly like going down, and then it bounced and made a higher low, and is making a higher high here. It's marginal, but given the context, and like I said, that's important, given the context that every other altcoin has been eating shit, and ETH has just gone sideways during a massive bear market, where usually altcoins go down 80-90%, and other altcoins have. I mean, just go through the list. Like right now, ETH BTC is up 1%, Solana is down 5%, Litecoin is up. It's quite funny because all the coins that are like ETH, like only the coins that I've been I've been chilling / trading have been going up. Like ETH BTC, Litecoin, and XRP are the only ones in the list that are up. Everything else is struggling. But yeah, in the context of everything is kind of eating shit and ETH hasn't, this kind of move is somewhat significant in my opinion. Like I said, the only problem is that we had S&P high time frame resistance. But if we can shake that off, or if the S&P can have a push beyond resistance, I think we could see a nice bump on ETH. I like that. I like that chart. I also don't necessarily mind the ETH USD chart too much. Yes, it's a false breakout. We had a breakout attempt that got immediately shut down, but we did not have any follow through. And if you don't get any follow through on something like this, there's a chance that you creep back up. And the moment we do, the moment we close back above 1.9K, I think this goes. And then we can easily squeeze to 2.5K. Which would be considered a move, especially given that the ETH market cap is already a large one. So I like ETH, but we do need to see the Bitcoin market and the traditional market play a little bit of ball and help out. And I still like Litecoin. It's one of the charts against Bitcoin that does look good. Not so interesting on the Bitcoin pair, but even more interesting on the daily pair, on the USD pair. I mean, let me take this on a daily. So this is just curling upwards, right? While everything else is also very much struggling, same as ETH. Litecoin's been slowly troopering upwards, going into the halving. So I think there's potential for a halving pump, but like I said, given the headwind, it's a little bit of a tough situation, especially given that the halving is inching closer and closer. And then if we don't pump soon, basically you're on the wrong side of the trade. So the risk on Litecoin is increasing every day, and every day that goes by, Litecoin becomes less interesting and ETH becomes more interesting, right? Because at some point you're going to be wondering, has everyone allocated to the halving trade that wants to allocate to the halving trade? And if that is the case, you're going to get completely fucked on that trade, because it's going to be overcrowded and there's not going to be enough people to buy. So that's a little bit of a riskier one, but still decent. And then XRP has been excellent as well. Same kind of setup, just a little bit stronger than Litecoin. This is based on people speculating on the SEC case going well for XRP. Also walking up in like a stair-step pattern. And this looks like it wants to kind of just go. Kind of sad given, like I said, how Bitcoin looks. Because I think all of these would go if Bitcoin was stronger. Boomer stocks give 30% left and right, and here we are begging for ETH to pump 30%. Yeah, it's quite funny, yeah. I think that's going to be the future of crypto anyway. The pumps are going to get more and more marginal, and then it's going to trade at some point very similar to how gold has been trading. And then you're going to have penny stocks, as in altcoin, like shit coins, that do more, but also go down much more. It's just the bigger the market gets, the less the rewards, unless it gets proper adopted. And then if you have proper adoption, we can talk about it again. But until then, mostly speculation, but it's hard to pump stuff that's already quite large. Hey Don, will your love for Doge ever return? No, I think Doge has been sullied. You're probably not going to see me trade too much Doge. I traded it a little bit when Elon changed the Twitter logo. I think I lost a little bit of money on that even. Like I caught the pump, but then got dumped on during during the dump. Maybe not. I think I basically went out break even. So caught that because I saw it early, and then held because I was like, Elon might do a little bit more with it, but turns out he was just in it for the pump and dump. But no, I'm not too interested, at least not right now. And I'm also not interested in this kind of chart, right? It's walking down and it's walking down again. This actually looks very fractal if you think about it. So you have a move up, bounce, bounce down. You have a move up, bounce, bounce down. So right now, not too pretty. Who knows where this is gonna go? I don't really care. Not the biggest Doge fan, not the biggest Doge hater. Just don't really care. Heard you talk about during the bear market of 19 being too screen addicted, now punting longer time frames. Would love to hear you talk about that balance wise. Yeah, I think it's important to just not get trading addicted, basically. Like if you're starting to not be able to walk away from it, that's a problem. And if you're just kind of always looking at the charts, I think that's one way to get good at it, but also a very, very unhealthy lifestyle. I was back in the day, and I mean, I still have this from time to time. Like I would sit at dinner with people or whatever, and they would tell me something, and I would just sit there and be actually thinking about the markets. And I would do anything really. Like I would go out climbing, and I would be climbing the route, and then I'd be thinking about the market. And I'd be out with friends thinking about the market. I'd be at home thinking about the market. And at some point, you kind of have to let it go because it gets quite bad. So, yeah, there's a balance there, but everyone has to find it for themselves, because you can only get good if you're kind of like obsessed with something, but also you have to know when to stop. And that line I cannot really help you with. So. Wow, sounds like you really like this market person. Yeah. But yeah, it depends really at what stage of the market, like at what stage of your journey you're in. I mean, if I wasn't so obsessed with it, it would have never worked, right? But also, I mean, I was single, and I didn't really have much more meaningful things to do. So it's one thing for me to waste a couple of years if it wouldn't have worked out. It's another if you have a family and whatever, and and you're just not there because you're obsessed with something else. I think there's a very, very different circumstances. Like a lot of people that kind of get obsessed and look at the markets all day, every day. If you have real life obligations, this is just not a way to live. Now you can't stop thinking about your Diablo 4 Sork. No, I mean, I've been having fun, but I'm basically through with everything. So it's other things again. But then again, like I'm gonna be a dad in probably a couple weeks time. So most likely, if not just tomorrow, who knows? So there's gonna be enough for me to think about. But yeah, that's it. There's not really that much else to talk about. The altcoins are, like I said, uninteresting. Most of the stuff has been just taking a beating. Most things are already making new lows. It's quite nice that the coins that I've been trading have not. They've actually been showing quite a bit of strength. But when you look at this, I mean, what the fuck? Like ADA breaking new lows. BNB obviously nuking. TRX obviously doing something completely weird. As always, I would ignore that one. But yeah, like you have like a bunch of like, it's just rough. So gotta be a little bit careful, gotta be nimble. Don't get like too crazy about any position, be it short or long. I think the best thing is to observe, see, maybe like if we break this daily to the upside, start thinking about longing again. If we go towards 23k, start thinking about longing again. If you're bear, just do whatever you want to do. I'm not gonna stop you. But I think those are the interesting areas, and then everything else, just take it as it comes, basically. And that's my advice. There's not too much to do. So there you go. That's it. Big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. You can thank them for this being so semi-regular, semi-on time, because they would beat the shit out of me if it wasn't. No, but they've been excellent, like I said, to work with, to communicate. It's been nice. Go check them out. Links are in the description. And yeah, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you all. And we'll see each other soon. Bye-bye, or talk, whatever. It's a weird thing. We only really talk, never really seen each other, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, bye-bye.